And it's like a Ritz-Carlton type deal. Really, really nice, high end. The bar's cool, the restaurant, Highball Lanes in Fondren. So they're rented out some. People will take their office, their employees, take clients, all that. And then the Station is their new restaurant with the green space behind it. They're showing ball games all the time. And on the weekends, they do super cool pizzas. Highball Lanes in Fondren, the Station in Fondren. It's awesome. Check it out. We had a huge Patron party there when they launched their El Cielo, which is one of their premium bottles. I think it's $150 a piece, but they invited, I had to have been 50 people there. We were in the Tiki Bar and in the bowling alley bar area. It was really nice. So Highball Lanes in Fondren and the Station in Fondren. Check all that out. Support those type businesses, which are awesome. You know, we hear about, well, there's nothing to do in Jackson. Well, there is.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
There is. We want you to go and take a big old taste of it and see what you think, and you'll love it. Really, really nice bowling. They got couches, and they'll bring food out there, and it's very high-end bar and grill food. So it's well done. You can get you a beverage or whatever you want there at Highball Lanes in Fondren. Chef Wally Cummins will be here. We'll probably start doing that about 9:15 and definitely the 9:30 segment. He's doing banana pudding, but he also sous vide. It looks like some steak and some chicken. As I look at the pic on Twitter at Bo Bounds, he tagged us. Chef Wally Cummins will be here. If you want to showcase your culinary skills, just text us. We'd love to have you. I mean, that's easy. We're going to get back into doing the food segments. We were doing some of the coolest, and we need to do more. So James Fancher, who won I don't know if he won our ribs or Stack and Racks ribs competition, or I don't know what it was, but James Fancher is coming in next week. He texts me, and he and his friend are going to cook for us. So, I mean, we're about to go on a roll. If you want to showcase your culinary skills, look, it can be red beans, and it doesn't have to be on the grill. It can be red beans and rice. It can be gumbo. It can be crawfish etouffee. It can be a dessert. It can be some kind of chocolate and caramel pie, whatever you want to do. But we're going to start doing more food segments here. We were doing them forever, and they were great, and they were popular. And you can watch them on YouTube. Search Out of Bounds Sports. But Chef Wally Cummins will be in the third hour. And then I think Kendall Collins will be in a couple of weeks. We're about to go on one heck of a run going into Thanksgiving and Christmas. And Wally Cummins sous vide, again, some protein. If you look on our Twitter at Bo Bounds, and y'all know that's, the food's placed in a vacuum sealed bag, cooked in a water bath, perfectly controlled, low temp, and for an extended period, and helps moisture retention.
Nice.
And things like that.
Sous vide. That's SUVEE.
SOUS.
Oh.
VIDE.
Whoa.
Sous vide. Yeah.
Okay. I had no idea what this was.
Yeah. Well, look it up on your chat GPT.
On the chats.
Yeah.
Like my chat.
It'll give you the rundown.
I like that.
Speaking of.
No idea that was going on. That's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It is really cool.
It is science.
Well, you're a hydrocarbon chemist.
I just do what I can.
So this should be right in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, it's definitely
the fact that Wally Cummins did the sous vide, and we get to learn how he did the banana pudding.
Yes. I'm pumped.
You love banana pudding.
Love banana pudding. I mean,
you're addicted to sugar. You're the perfect 30s kid.
Yes.
You're 32.
Right.
You're addicted to sugar.
Wild.
Now, it'll be interesting to see what he did, because this is going to be like really quality.
Yeah. I'm sure what he's done aligns with, the things that I've done in my life, quality wise.
Probably not. Probably not. Are you going to catch E.
probably.
coli from McDonald's?
You know, man, I saw.
Didn't you have a quarter pounder on Monday?
I did, and it's been taken off the menu in 12 states.
Okay, I haven't had a quarter pounder in over 30 years. I'm going to try to make it till the end, whether that's today or 20 years from now, without doing it. But I think you're going to be okay.
I think so. I got faith in it. And if you got faith in it, then I'm good.
Yeah, I think
if two people believe, that means it must be true. So we're good.
We're believers.
We are.
Do you believe in Jeff Lebby winning this weekend against Arkansas? I don't.
What about being competitive?
Yeah, but I mean, and that's all great and good. I've heard that a lot. That's sweet and cute and fun. But you're here to, you're here to win football games. And look, can I tell you what the big deal is in this game? A lot of people are going to cover it in this state and out of state, but none of them will even hit this. So it's this simple, and this is how we like to do it. It is the unstoppable force of the number 96 scoring efficiency offense of Bobby Petrino versus the immovable object of the 122nd scoring defensive team of Coleman Hutzler. Something's got to give in Davis Wade. Number 96 against number 122. Petrino's offense ranked 96. Coleman Hutzler's D 122.
If you were leaning today, where do you lean on that?
I'd lean Petrino.
To get the edge, right?
Well, I mean, he's a veteran coach. Yeah. He's done it. If this thing is going to be close and it literally comes down to one slip screen or getting a tight end open, one play late in the game, somebody's running wide ass open. Yeah. I'm going Bobby Petrino over Coleman Hutzler because there were wide receivers running wide open in the Texas A&M game.
Yeah, the first quarter.
Yeah. So it's number 96, Arkansas's offense.
Okay.
In scoring efficiency against Mississippi State's defense, which is 122nd.
Out of how many? There ain't that many more.
No, it's like 124, 125, 126. Yeah. 96 versus 122. What's going to give in Davis Wade Stadium? We are the Out of Bounds Show. Brought to you by the Wings and Stella Artois and the Blue Plates. What else is out there? That redfish sandwich? Oh, what about the pork skins appetizer at Martin's in Livingston? That thing is so good. Pork skins appetizer.
I want to buy a bunch of pork rinds at the fair and opted out of every single
pork rinds. I shouldn't have called it pork skin. Pork rinds app at Martin's in Livingston.
So much better there.
Pork rinds app. Martin's in Livingston. Game day. Ice cold beer. They've got Key City on tap. They have ice cold Budweiser. They have wings and pork rinds appetizer. Martin's in Livingston.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
I love that. Kurt Cignetti, coach of the year right now in college football for the Indiana Hoosiers, 7-0. They're hosting game day, and he was able to flip that roster in a few weeks.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
Incredible. Oh, one of the biggest mic drops in the history of college football. Good morning. Welcome in. We are the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. You can watch the show right now. Go to YouTube. Search Out of Bounds Sports. Out of Bounds Sports. That's the channel. And Jackson Meadows has that thing popping. He's changed it all up, made it better, rebooted it, and it looks great. YouTube, search Out of Bounds Sports. You can see the helmets that are on the set this week, and they're the winners. Vanderbilt, Florida, a couple others. Diego Pavia should be the player of the year. He's the most fun dude to watch, or one of the most fun dudes to watch in college football. We welcome in Steve Robertson, Gene's Page, 247 Sports, Hail State Insider. Mississippi State has not won a game since Labor Day. They need to win a game. They need to put a W down, put a W up on the scoreboard, put it on paper, put it on ESPN.com. Their fan base has hung in there, but they are hosting Arkansas. They are a dog, as they should be, and but they do have a chance to win the game. So we welcome in Steve Robertson on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. The line is going down. It's gone down 2 points. Was at 8.5. It's now Arkansas laying 6.5. Steve Robertson, what does Mississippi State have to do to win this weekend other than score one more point than the Hogs?
Well, I think they got to play like they did last week, but maybe make a few better decisions within the ball game. You know, sometimes you get in these games and you look up at the scoreboard and you're like, man, we're in the game. We got to make a play. And you do something that maybe is uncharacteristic. You know, like you fake a punt or you go for it on fourth down in a bad situation, and you put your defense in a bad situation. And I thought that happened last week. And listen, the thought process behind that is a winning mindset. But sometimes you just have to make the football play. You look at the statistics from last week's game. It's basically the same game. State outgains them offensively. State gets more first downs. And, the difference in that first half is just, A&M just converted, I think, their first 7 third downs, regardless of distance. You know, there was one that was, 3rd and 24? I mean, it's just ridiculous to give that up. But, it's basically Arkansas is A&M light. And they run a lot of the same concepts. Philosophically, they're the same. They want to establish the run. Problem they're going to have their Arkansas is you're without RB1 this week. And, they're going to start Bryson Russell as RB1. He's a big, beefy 250-pounder. And they're going to try to get out there, lean on that Bulldog defense a little bit, but he's not as dynamic. You know, he's a one-cut runner. And I think that's the reason you're seeing this line come down is, this is an Arkansas offense that has struggled to score points in SEC play. I mean, they were averaging over 40 points a game in non-conference. It's 17.5 now in conference play. And so Mississippi State, on the other hand, is averaging 24 points a game against greater competition. And so the game is at home. I think State is ascending, if you can say that, and Arkansas is kind of descending. And so I think there's an apex they meet this weekend, and I think there's a good chance Mississippi State's going to win this football game.
Wow. All right, so you're cautiously optimistic?
Yeah, it's a good way to characterize it. I think, State – getting healthy is big after the open date. I mean, we don't know the status of Mario Craver. We'll find out this evening when they release their first availability report. I suspect that he will be questionable at best, perhaps even doubtful. But, I think this wide receiver room can run with anybody in the country. It's just can you protect long enough to give Van Buren the ability to distribute the football, those playmakers. I mean, Kevin Coleman has proven to be an absolutely dynamic player. Like to have more offensive snaps, but the reality of it is that I think that Arkansas secondary is going to be challenged. But that defensive front that Arkansas has is good. They're not as good as Texas, not as good as Georgia. They're not as good is Texas A&M, but they're good, and they want to get after the quarterback. And so I think, Levy will have to design some things up, maybe where you roll the pocket a little bit, kind of evade the pressure or something. But, I think this is a situation where it's probably State's best chance to win a football game, perhaps since Florida. And you got to go take advantage of that.
Oh, the staff is in desperate need of a win. There's no question about that. Steve Robertson, genespage.com, 247 Sports. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Levy and crew have an opportunity to win a game this weekend. They're 6.5-point underdogs to the Razorbacks. We mentioned this earlier. Petrino and Arkansas have the 96th ranked offensive scoring efficiency against Mississippi State's defense and defensive scoring efficiency. MSU's ranked 122nd. So what will give? What is that going to look like throughout the kind of morning and afternoon? You mentioned health. Outside of Craver, I mean, they've gone through 3 physical games. They played at Texas, at Georgia, and A&M at home. Those are 3 of the most physical teams in the country. How healthy is this team right now?
Well, I'm eager to see what DeMonte Russell's status is tonight. But outside of that, I mean, it's been pretty good. I mean, both those guys were helped from the field last week, Craver and Russell. But that was the concern I had when the schedule first came out. A lot of people thought, hey, A&M is probably a winnable game. And I was like, I just don't like where it sits on the schedule, because they're coming off an open date. You're coming off a game at Texas, and you have an open date. Then you're at Georgia, 2 teams that are expected to compete for a national championship. And so you expect it to be a bit of a meat grinder, and it has been, but maybe not as bad as we anticipated. And I think that says a lot about the staff and obviously strength and conditioning and the commitment of these players, to kind of commit themselves to being in great physical shape. And so I think you're in good shape. And then you look on the Arkansas side of things, it's a little bit beat up. And you mentioned those scoring efficiency and defensive scoring efficiency numbers. Those were accumulated with Jackson starting at running back. And you looked last week, he was struggling a little bit with a high ankle sprain against LSU. And for that second half of that ball game was not competitive. And it's a 34-10 final, but I don't think in that fourth quarter there was any question whatsoever that LSU was going to win that football game. And Jackson goes down after a 4-yard gain, and I think they managed to get about 30 yards offense the rest of the ball game. And so, Green's it's all going to be kind of put in his lap in many respects. And he is a one-read quarterback. If you sit back there and if his initial read is there, he can execute. He has not been good in the red zone when things get compressed. I mean, that's where a lot of the turnovers have come from, and turnovers were a problem for him last week. But, when you have an offense that is without its best playmaker, there's going to be some up and down. And so I think what you do with him is you make him be a quarterback. You don't sit out there and let him be an athlete. You can't let him be Jaden Daniels. And I'm not trying to make that comparison, but he is a guy when things break down that can hurt you with his legs. And so, maybe you spy him. I don't know. But I think the game is ultimately going to be decided on how he manages that offense and maybe how uncomfortable State can make him.
Ooh. All right. Steve Robertson on the Out of Bounds Show. Brought to you by Pearl River Resort, Dancing Rabbit Golf Club, and the Sportsbook. Bet $50 there. Play award-winning Dancing Rabbit Golf Club for $40. We'll be live from Dancing Rabbit Golf Club tomorrow. All right, I don't have it. I'm not as optimistic as you are on it. I think
you never really are.
Well, yeah, sometimes. I mean, I'm optimistic about the basketball team. I like Matthews and Hubbard and Keyshawn's made strides, and Clary from Penn State, and some of the other guys. But I don't know. I don't think they know how to win yet, and it's going to come down to just a couple of plays in the second half. And I can see Petrino scheming. Look, they may not be good a lot of times throughout the day, okay, because it's not a good offense. I mean, they may be. But Arkansas doesn't have a good offense, 96th in the country, scoring efficiency. But when it comes down to scheming and one big play, and as much as I watched wide receivers run wide open and Connor Wigman couldn't hit them last week, I see, a big play or two in the second half as a backbreaker. Do you have confidence that Coleman Hutzler can scheme up some things in the second half to keep that from happening?
Well, I do, but I also think it's more about somebody making a play. And I wrote about that earlier this week. I mean, like when State was up against it in 2013, Nico Whitley saved the season for Mississippi State and may have saved Dan Mullen's job, right? I mean, you make the big strip against Alex Collins against Arkansas, and then, of course, the strip against Bo Wallace in the Egg Bowl. Sometimes it's not about a coach putting a person in a position to make a play. Sometimes you got to go make a play. And I think, honestly, you begin to think about that aspect of it. Stone Blanton has played much better the last couple of weeks.
Sure.
Isaac Smith has been consistent throughout the season. Somebody's got to step up and say, okay, enough. I'm going to put my foot in the ground, and we're going to say we're going no further. And if my season was on the line with Torian Green having to make the call there late in the ball game, I don't know how much confidence I would have. And if you're on the Mississippi State side of this thing, you're thinking, and we got to make a play to get off the field on third down. Can we have somebody make a play to win this ball game? I think it may be a combination of both, if you know what I'm saying. I mean, it's like I don't know that I have a tremendous amount of green to lead this team on a fourth quarter drive to win a game. So as you mentioned, something's got to give. But the reality of it is somebody's got to step up. It's not about coaching all the time. Somebody's got to go make a play. And there were some opportunities last week to make a play defensively. Even on the first drive of the second half, when A&M's driving down, you drop back-to-back pick sixes.
Yeah.
And then ultimately you give up a field goal, on a drive where you should have been off the field. Even if it's not a pick six, even if you stumble over your feet, you end up having to punt and pin them back deep, it may change the complexity of that game. So when those plays are there to be made, players have to make plays.
Oh, yeah. Connor Wigman wanted to throw 5 picks last weekend. I mean, He was begging Mississippi State to beat them. There's no doubt about that. He threw 2, but there were 3 more right in the paws, as you know, Steve. Okay. Offensively, running backs are average, although they did rip off. I was even surprised the 2, Daniels and Booth, got 2 big runs to flip the field for the Mississippi State offense. Now, it may not have been a consistent running game throughout the day, but there were 2 big runs. You think they'll continue to try to find something there, Steve, to give Van Buren an opportunity to hit Coleman and Kelly and some of the other guys, Sadu?
Yeah, I think that whole offense, we talked about, State's lack of production of offense in that fourth quarter. I think a lot of that's because of the adjustments that A&M made, right? It's like early on, you're able to gash them between the tackles, which shocked me because, again, this A&M front may be the best front State's played all year, certainly from a pass rushing standpoint. But, all of a sudden they're running some stunts early on to try to get in Van Buren's face to make him uncomfortable, and State takes full advantage, and they gash him. And it surprised me that they were able to do that with such proficiency. But I think in the second half, they're like, you know what, we're not going to get cute. We're just going to go out of here and wear these guys down. And they did. But I think against Arkansas, again, I don't think that State's offensive line will wear down with the same frequency it did against A&M because they're so big and physical up front. But, I think State's going to come out and run the football. And I'd like to see Chris Parson a little bit. I thought we may see him some last week, even if it's just in some design quarterback run stuff. Because it's evident they really don't want Van Buren to run the football a lot because they have him slide down all the time, and so there's going to be some plays I think you could change it up. And maybe since you haven't shown this in a couple of weeks, they're not going to prepare for it, maybe perhaps, the way they should. And I think you could maybe catch them with some of that stuff. Because, when the quarterback's handing it off, it's 11 versus 10, right? But when the quarterback's part of the running game, it's 11 versus 11. And so I think you can maybe change the way that they defend the run if you introduce some quarterback run. And perhaps the best way to do that is to give Chris Parson a couple of opportunities in a certain